Okay. All right. Well, we are here again at Dawdy Haus Coffee Shop with Andy and Dianne tonight, talking again about life coaching. Mm-hmm. Had a couple good conversations already about running and seasickness and all kinds of good stuff. So I guess we'll dive into what about life coaching again. And I'm interested in knowing, well, first off, I think a little bit more about Andy and Dianne as individuals and how you've come to know each other through the life coaching process, and also I think about a definition or your perspective of what life coaching is. So, Andy, can you tell us a little bit about Dianne and a little bit about life coaching?
Sure. Well, the short version of what life coaching is it's a way of getting from point A to B, assessing where you are in life, and then assessing where you want to be, and then getting those processes that are needed to move from A to B rolling. And short definition, getting from where you are to where you want to be. And there's lots of tools that are used in that process. So that's a quick definition of life coaching. You'll be hearing more about that as we talk. As far as Dianne goes, I guess it's been, what now, Dianne? About a little over 2 months.
Mm-hmm. I first met you like in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
I came out there with a friend.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it was like April, May.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of put this on hold until I was at a better place to jump into it. And so September, I think we started. September, October? End of September.
Yeah. I think it's right around there. So it's been probably about, 2-3 months. And I guess there's all kinds of cool things that happen in coaching, but one thing that I appreciate about Dianne in the coaching is that she's willing to take a look at her self-concept, like how she sees herself, and then take a look at the Word as well, some of that's come out in the coaching, taking a look at how she's seen by our Heavenly Father, and then incorporating that into coaching. And I believe that's a really powerful way to go about using the coaching process. And she's, from what I've seen in the coaching, she's quick to do that. And that's one thing I've appreciated about Dianne and working with her. And on top of that, I know that she loves to run, she loves to be active, and be inspiring to others as far as getting out and moving, that kind of thing. And I think there's cool things going on in her life in that area, and more cool things to come. So I'm excited to see where that all goes as well.
Yeah, me too, man. Sounds like good stuff. All right. So I guess the last interview we did, Andy, you talked a little bit about the definition of life coaching being a process that takes you from A to B. Mm-hmm. And then today you talked about the processes that are involved in that. Can you unpack that, like the definition of the processes that are involved in taking you from A to B, where you are to where you want to be, a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Getting into some of the skills that we use in the coaching process, is that kind of what you're getting at?
Whatever happens in between A and B.
Right. Sure. Well, I was actually talking with somebody this week about, what is life coaching and how does it work. And one of the things that we do in life coaching is called mirroring. So we all know the function of a mirror. If we want to see how we look before we go out and start our day, we're going to be checking in with the mirror and getting some perspective on ourselves. And so what life coaching does, it uses mirroring, helping the client to hear what they're thinking and get that perspective, get what's in their heart out there on the table so they can see it. And then the coach kind of holds that and says, hey, look, this is where you are in life. This is what your situation looks like. what do you think about it? You know, how does it look to you now that I'm holding up the mirror for you and you can kind of see where you're at and what's going on? And then, you know, that's one of the tools that we use. And it's amazing like how many times, you know, you're trying to get a sense of where you are, and as you talk it out loud, and you hear yourself speak, and the coach reflects back to you what he's hearing, that you get that perspective. And
yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, and I'm just thinking of the moment, trying to think what we were even talking about. You know, I was dealing with a lot of work stress and just trying to get a handle on this anxiety, you know, and telling yourself all the time, you know, you're doing a bad job, you're a bad nurse, you're a bad person. You get to the end of the day and like, man, like, you just had a horrible day, look at everything you did wrong, instead of, okay, you know, you might say, well, Dianne, tell me about your day. What really did happen? Okay, well, I was successful here, and here, and this went really good, and nobody told me I was doing a bad job. So I was like, you were holding up the mirror of what actually was, and not what I was perceiving it to be. But it was one of those moments of like, you had brought out, you know, when God created the earth, and what did he say at the end of his day? It was good. And it just like was one of those, okay, now I'm going to sit here and cry because, wow, God is what God wants me to say about my day. Not looking at all the negatives, but, okay, it might not have been a perfect day, but it was good. And so that's something I've really used. What was my day truly like?
Yeah.
What was the reality of my day? And let's find something to say. It was good. And that has been, like, huge for me.
Yeah.
Really huge. To just change my way of thinking instead of, you know, everything was bad to, hey, it was good. And it was okay to say that. It was good.
Yeah.
So.
And I think along with that, it's tagging on to that, like, our self-perception, it sometimes helps to hear ourselves talk it out loud and then, like, have somebody else reflect back as what we believe we're hearing. And then say, does that really match up with reality? And I think, you know, for you, like, you checked in with other folks in your life, and as you checked in with the Word, like, you found that, wow, there's a lot of really good things going on, you know, in Dianne, and a lot of really good things that you bring to the table as, you know, as a mom and as a nurse and all those kind of things. So is it fair to say there's been like a perspective shift on like how you've been viewing yourself
definitely
in these different areas?
Like, I know one of the questions you had said, you know, what growth have I seen? And so I was trying to write down words, you know, and I thought, okay, where was I at when this process all started? And these were the words that came to mind: guilt, shame, regret, anxiety, fear, worry, self-loathing, and never good enough. So that's a pretty horrible list. You know, and now looking at where am I at now, how do I feel? And not that those words don't like to creep their way in, because they do.
Sure.
But I know one of my goals was I wanted a tool chest of tools that I can pull out and use. So these are now my tools: grace, reality, forgiveness, reconciliation, accepting that I am good, that God created me and he delights in that. He sings songs over me. And I don't know where that's found, but there's a verse and it talks about that. And just being able to release the past and allowing God to use that, even though I wish I could go back and change it, I do have regret. But how am I going to let him use that for his glory? So what a difference from all those before words to where I feel like I'm at now. I feel like I've got some tools. They've always been there, but I felt like you helped me figure out how to use some of them or how to find them again. They were buried underneath all that other stuff. So that's been pretty powerful for me. And you kept me accountable for that. Like, I know you're going to ask me questions, and you don't always just ask me a question and let it go. You keep digging until I come up with something, and just as we're talking, we come up with, sometimes things just get said, and he'll be like, you know, did you just hear what you just said? I'm like, wait a second, can you say it back to me? Because it's been just really good. And talking to somebody outside of my family, somebody who never knew me before, I think is good, because you have sort of a, I don't know, open mind or you don't have preconceived ideas about where I've come from. And so you just hear it for what it is, and if that makes sense. So.
Yeah, and would it be fair to say that, like, you were not, that first list of words you mentioned, would it be fair to say that you were not super aware that that's what was going on in your life, that that's like where you were when you first started?
I was probably more aware of it than what I would. It's kind of funny because I've had training as a health coach.
Yeah.
So I've kind of been through that whole process to be certified to do a little bit what you're doing, but I've never felt like I could do that. I just thought, I got too many things I got to work on in my own life. I don't know, like, I feel like I've been very aware that those are things in my life, but I just sort of let them become part of who I am instead of saying, okay, enough's enough. What can I do about it? I just sort of dwelt there. And we talked about that concept too, about dwelling somewhere. Where do I want to dwell? In that cave in the dark of all these things, or do I want to walk out into the light and quit dwelling there? I want to dwell someplace different. And that's, I know we talked about that the one time. And just that concept of dwelling. Where do we want to dwell? And I had to make some choices to quit dwelling there. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And some people, as they come into coaching, their perspective on where they are is more clear, and other people it's not. Like, they don't even realize all the things that are swirling around, maybe in the back of their mind. Which, like Dianne, what she's saying is they were more obvious to her because you've had some training, you're kind of aware of what was going on. But some people come into the coaching and they feel confused, they feel stuck, they feel sort of lost, and they're not even able to put that list of words down like, you did, and describe specifically what's going on, and then come up with, okay, this is where I am, now where do I want to be? And, you came in with a bit more awareness and then developed the strategies to get you out of that thing.
Yeah.
So.
I think I was just tired. I mean, you said stuck, and I felt stuck. And I thought, I have to make some changes, and so what am I going to do? And I know when we first met, I think my goal had been, I wanted to figure out physically things that I needed to work on. I had a shoulder surgery, wanted to get stronger, so some physical aspects of coaching. And then the first time we actually sat and talked about it, it really was like, wow, I really need to work on some spiritual things and emotional things. And so like the whole body, mind, spirit, it all works together. And I don't know, it's just, I think, a part of me in my head knows how to work through some of these things. But sometimes when you feel like you're a coach all the time as a mom or as a nurse, you're always directing people and encouraging people and motivating people. And sometimes I think, I sound like on the surface, like I know what I'm doing, I look good, but inside I'm like, I don't even know what the questions are. And I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm thinking. And I need help. So it was being able to say, I need to do something different. And the whole idea of life coaching intrigued me from day one. And I'm like, I just need to do this.
Yeah.
I just need to do it. Make a commitment and do it.
And that's what I love about coaching too. Like, there's a lot of things that just engaging with the process does. One, it blocks out a chunk of time for busy people where they're going to have some space for themselves and where they're going to be able to reflect on their goals, for the past week, past 2 weeks, and strategize for how they can move forward, look at what their obstacles are, all that kind of thing. So I think just being in the process and knowing that slot of time is going to be there every week, every 2 weeks is huge. And we all have, different roles where, like you mentioned, sometimes we're given, and it's really cool to have, from what I've seen for myself personally, as I've been involved in the process and for clients, to have that space that's there for you. Go work through things and to continue to grow yourself, and that's been really neat to experience and to share with others. So.
Very cool. So that jumps us into a process, which is really cool. And the concept of mirroring and kind of helping people find out where they're at, and then from there how to move forward from there.
I think for me too, it is about getting from point A to point B, but it was also, and this is something I'm still dealing with, but finding that place, being okay with who I am along the way, if that makes sense. I don't need to change myself from Dianne at point A to Dianne at point B. I mean, I've got goals and I have things that I'm striving for. There are things that I do want to change and I want to improve on, but there's also things that this is who God created me to be. Instead of me trying to change everything about myself to be the person that I think I should be, who does God want me to be? And to be at peace with some of those things. I know we've talked about personality types, and I can't think of the one that I was a number 4. Enneagram or whatever.
Sure.
And I didn't want to be that. I wanted to be the creative, spontaneous, whatever person. I did not want to be the self-centered one. And that's kind of what, everybody in my family was like, oh yeah, that's you. And I thought, why do I want to change that? And so, we've been talking about, who does God create you to be? Not that we can't always improve, but I don't want to improve because it's what I want, but it's who God wants me to be. Who did He create me to be? And that's kind of what we've been exploring too. Who does God call me? Like what are words that He has for me, and what is His vision for me, not just my vision?
Well, if we were to talk about going from point A to point B, it sounds like in this regard, like you were moving from a place of like being unsatisfied with yourself or how you saw yourself to a place of like contentment with the process of change and like more contentment with who you are as a person, more contentment with how you're wired, how you're gifted, that kind of thing. Is that a fair? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not trying to take away from your point A to point B.
Sure.
But it's also, I think, finding contentment with where I'm at instead of always thinking I'm never going to get there.
Yeah.
Yes,
well,
it does. Yeah.
One thing that struck me was you mentioned feeling stuck. And I think at any point in our lives, it's possible to feel stuck. So when you work through, part of this process, it would be easy to get stuck in the next part, or to find, something else to get bogged down in. So it seems like being able, like you mentioned, being able to be comfortable with yourself and where you're at in the process of change is another one of those places that you can get stuck. So that's, I guess, just another example of how coaching can help you get from A to B through all of those little things that come up along the way. I really don't know. We're kind of rolling all over the place, but which is awesome.
We kind of warned you.
we tend to bounce around. And I think if I can jump in again here, I think that like what Dianne's talking about is so important because as we realize how much growth is possible and is available to us, we realize that like from now through the rest of our life, there's going to be potential for growth, and there'll always be more to learn, more to develop about ourselves, like more of our potential to reach, and like you said, we can get stuck in the future and discontent with ourselves, discontent with the process, and wanting to be there really quickly, But like you're saying, getting comfortable that like we're a work in progress, and enjoying the journey, enjoying each step of the way. I think that's really huge for anybody that gets involved with coaching. finding joy in, your action plan for this week, and then finding joy in your action plan for the next week, and not stressing out too much about not being at whatever place down the road.
Yeah.
So I think that's really helpful as well.
Yeah. I think one of the questions that we kind of explored last time was the growth that you've seen in yourself from the beginning of when you started life coaching to now. And you shared a little bit about that. I'm curious, I think, to know a little bit about how you got involved in the life coaching, because it sounds like you started interacting with Andy on more of a personal trainer level.
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was the initial goal when we had first met.
Okay.
And at that point, I had a mobilizer on and a sling, and so I was not able to do anything really physical. So I had gone there with a friend, and that was the first time I'd ever met this person called Andrew Yoder.
Yeah.
And even at that first meeting, and I don't even remember what all we talked about, but I remember standing there outside in your yard, and we're, going over these physical things and different, love your outdoor gym and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're talking, there were just things that God was doing in my heart, and I'm crying the first time I ever met you. And I was like, how did
Watch out, that's dangerous.
what's going on here? How is he pulling these thoughts out of me that I didn't even know was so close to the surface? And so I was intrigued.
Yeah.
And again, because I had done some classes on my own, kind of familiar with, how the process works and how to talk to people and, the right kind of questions and how to direct it, it kind of gives me a little more insight from the coach perspective. Sometimes I know, when you're saying about the action plan, I'm like, I know you're going to do that.
Yeah.
Because that's how they teach you. But I don't know, I just felt like for me, it keeps me accountable. I don't know, and I knew there's more about me that, I don't know, it's crazy, like you think you would know yourself inside out, but I think there's just things that we either don't want to know or we don't want to dig into that hold us back from being that person, from becoming truly who I am, who God created me to be. And so I feel like this is helping me to become more that person that God created, instead of me not wanting to deal with things because I don't want to see the dirty and the ugly. It's, I don't know if I'm making any sense.
No, you are, and I think if I can jump in with that too, whenever we're coaching too, our goal is the person, even more than the specific agenda or the specific goal. What we're trying to do in coaching is we're trying to help the person grow. And so that's, again, back to what I said about you at the beginning, that I love so much about the way you approach the coaching, because you're jumping right to, that self-concept, who is Dianne, and you're putting in that kind of work, with the Lord and with the Scripture, and you're seeing that change come as a result of it. And it's not just about, well, I want to do this goal or that goal. It's about developing who you are as a person. And I think, as that is established, then some of this other stuff, it just comes about a whole lot more naturally. And I think, jumping back to that first conversation we had, one of the things that I've noticed in my years working as a trainer is that a lot of times people would have physical goals that they wanted to achieve, but their success in those goals was troubled by, work stress, or troubled by, family situations, or all these other things would end up, kind of zapping their energy, and then there won't be any energy left for their workouts, and to progress to the goals that they wanted to there.
Yeah.
And so I think, like you mentioned earlier, that combination of mind, spirit, and body, and soul, and how it all integrates so much. As a personal trainer, I was saying to myself, man, I've got to have other tools and other resources to work with clients to help them, integrate on all these different levels, so that we're not, only dealing with one piece of the puzzle at a time. And is it fair to say that, like, I think with that conversation where you recognize too that, what's going on in work life, what's going on in family life is going to have a direct impact on your workout, on the longevity of your fitness plan? Is that
I mean, it was kind of talking like those things exhaust you. When you're stressed at work, my family doesn't stress me so much anymore. They used to. It's different as they've gotten older. But yeah, it just drains you, and you get to the end of your, work day, and you don't want to work out. You don't feel like doing any of those things. But, if you're going about your day and you're able to deal with the day with a different mindset, then you're looking forward to coming home because you're going to get that run in. I don't know. It definitely, you're just at a better place to continue with those physical exercise plans, whatever they are, whether it's running or, weightlifting, whatever it is. It has maintained its joyfulness for me instead of it being just a way to relieve stress, which it does, but it's become just a joyful time to, get out and go for a run and just be thankful. I guess it's kind of thankfulness. You find yourself thinking about things, not just negative things and how am I going to deal with life, but wow, God, thank you for this and thank you for that. And let me pray for this person while I'm running. So it's just, that has become just really cool for me.
And is it fair to say, Dianne, that like as you kind of cleaned up some of that other self-talk and some of those things in those other areas of your life, that those things aren't dragging with you into your workouts? Like you're coming into your workouts without, all that baggage of some of the stuff that we were mentioning earlier? Is that?
I think so. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. And that's what excites me, is how can we build energy for people? How can we look at places where people's energy is being drained and come up with solutions and strategies to stop the drain and find other ways, to get energy into their lives. And that's when then we got a good base to work from to get to our goals. Because it's really hard to add new goals to your life when there isn't any energy there to carry you forward too.
Or any room. I mean, when you're so filled up with, regret or, guilt or whatever, all those words that I've used before, when you're so filled up with that, do you have any room left for
another goal?
That just sounds exhausting. Who wants to do that? And so it's been nice to kind of clean house.
So it sounds like, Dianne, from your perspective, one of the biggest things that life coaching has helped you do is kind of change your way of thinking. I think you said that earlier.
Yeah.
And actually, Indy, this reminds me of the diagram that we saw the other week, where it starts with, you're talking about, like, everybody, we all have goals, we all have places we want to get, and you're trying to get there maybe by setting new goals and holding yourself to them. And, okay, so I'm going to try this, and I'm going to try this, and I'm going to try this. And you get somewhere for a short amount of time, and then it all falls apart. And then you think, well, maybe I need to focus on my emotions, and I'm going to be positive, and I'm going to be positive, and I'm going to be positive, and you do it for a certain amount of time, and then it all falls apart. I think the diagram, and I don't remember what all the things were, but when you get down to the self-identity and actually deal with that, then you can approach the goals, and you can approach the thoughts, and you can approach the emotions, and from a place of where you have more energy and you have more peace. So, and I don't think I'm doing a good job of explaining that diagram, but this is all kind of reminding me of that,
Sure. Yeah, I think if we were to kind of put it concisely, does your who match your what? So one of the tools that I use when I work with clients is I help them look at like their life purpose. I help them look at like their vision, those kind of things. And one of the questions is, does how you see yourself match with the vision that you have for your life. So if Diane's or Shelley's or Andy's vision requires a strong, brave, courageous, fearless, wise, loving, caring person, if that's the kind of thing, the kind of person that our vision is calling for, if that's the kind of thing that our goal is calling for, somebody with endurance and perseverance, maybe you're going to go run a marathon or something, or do a Spartan race, that kind of thing. Does our who, how we see ourselves, match our what? And so that's a great way to ask yourself, do I need to do some identity work here, Like, is my self-concept matching with the vision that I have for my life? And again, I've said this like 2 different times now, but I feel like Dianne does that. Like she says in the coaching, all right, let's take a look at how I see myself, and let's do that deep work on what's going on there, and then out of that, who she is can match, her goals and what she's trying to accomplish. But if you keep running at the same goal with a who that doesn't match your what, it's going to be, pretty bumpy ride. Yeah. So.
Is it fair to say that when that who matches the what, then there is more energy and there is more joy and peace in where you're at?
I mean, it would make more sense, that it would work that way. I think one of the things I'd like to be is more bold. I tend to be, let me just say, behind that first row of people, I kind of want to stay behind. I want to be tucked in. I don't want to be noticed. I don't like to put myself out there. But, for me, part of like running in these races or even thinking about doing a Spartan is being bold, boldness. And I want to apply that not just in those areas, but like speaking about my faith with patients, not being afraid to say, hey, can I pray with you? Or, I don't know, just not being, I don't want to hold back with the joy that God gives me. I want to be bold with that. And doing this, I was really nervous. I thought it was okay all day long. I was okay. And I told my daughter, I'm like, hey, Adrienne, like, you got to pray for me. Now I'm nervous, putting myself out there. And that's not always an easy thing for me to do. But I feel like if I can bring encouragement to somebody else, or if something that's said here this evening, or I don't know, people see me out, and again, it's letting myself be vulnerable and accountable, and that takes focus.
Sure.
I'm a little bit scared, but
yeah, I was an art major in college, and I always remember the worst thing that I always look forward to is having to put your work up on the critique wall. Because it's like, here's my heart and my soul wrong. Tell me what I did wrong. But you get a lot of, in my experience, you get a lot of good insight out of that process too, But it definitely being vulnerable is not easy.
One of the tools you use is, I don't even know what you call it, but the thing we look at on our calls. Yeah. And so, I haven't tapped into that as much as what I would like to. But even just, as I think of things or see things, trying to plug some of those things in there, and that's been really a cool thing. That's kind of way off any of your questions, but I'm just going to throw it out there. It's a really cool tool. You just got to take the time to use it.
Can you explain that tool a little bit to us, Andy?
Yeah, sure.
But I think being bold was one of the first things we had plugged into there with the running, and I feel like that was something we had put on there.
Yeah.
It made me think of that.
Yeah.
It's called a vision board. Is that what it's called?
I call it a lot of things. You can call it whatever you want.
I call it a quilt.
Yeah,
I
call
like
it a quilt.
I didn't think so.
Yeah. So basically, like I've kind of compiled a tool that I like to use for myself and for clients that combines all the pieces of the puzzle that I believe are necessary, like for change and for growth. So if we don't have a vision, we don't know where we're going, so it gives them a chance to plug that in. It gives them a chance to plug in like where the motivation's coming from, so like what the energy is, what the drive is behind it, like getting in touch with that. Because a lot of times in coaching, what happens is people forget their motivation, or they forget their drive, they lose touch with that fire in their belly, that energy, and so the coaching helps them pull that back out. And I'm like, hey, if we're pointed out, let's get it down where you can see it and remember it, and that we don't need to dig it back up at another session. And it's just there right away so we can, keep rolling and not, relay the groundwork. So it's...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
This is going to take us down another route, Joe, but I feel like with vision, too, oftentimes it's easy for me to get stuck in, to have negative motivation. Negative motivators, and then if I sit down and think about it, I'm like, well, I'm really just doing this because I think everybody thinks I should do it. Is that really why I want to do it, or so I feel like that would maybe bring out some of those things too.
Yep, it sure does. And if I'm in a call and a client has a vision or a goal, and I ask them, hey, what are the chances, or a scale of 1 to 10, how sure are you that goal is going to get done by next week? And they say, a 1 or a 2, I'm going to say, oh man, either you got somebody else's vision you're trying to live out, or you're not really bought into this, or you got some negative drivers working here. So what I love about this tool, and I call it a dreams board activator, lots of different things, but it has vision. And so it's a vision that the client believes in, they buy into, as a place for them to put in their motivation, their energy, their drive, what's behind it, which gives you a great way too to check is this drive legitimate, or is it really because so-and-so thinks I should be doing this? And then it breaks it down into small goals and then also habits, because a lot of times people's goals end up not getting turned into a habit that becomes part of their lifestyle. And so all that energy they put in kind of disappears, and the goals kind of disappear and fade unless they get established as patterns. And so that's my goal for anybody that does coaching too, is that it becomes a lifestyle. And then also just a place to, put in ideas that you want to activate in your life, but it wouldn't be a wise move at this time because of the other stuff you're trying to integrate, but you can at least jot them down there and save them for the future so that you don't lose track of them. So
I think it helps you hone in on what you want to make as your goals and what you want to, it really makes you think about what do I want to put on there? What are the things that are important to me? Not that I'm going to take the time to plug them in there.
Sure.
Or find a picture to go with it, or, whatever it is. And I don't know, it's really cool then there you get to put in, I think at the bottom it has goals accomplished or something like that. So when we first started talking, I told you I want to run a 5K, and okay, I have a date. This is the day we're going to do this, and to be able to put that in there, yes, I ran that 5K and it was awesome, and hey, now I have a second one in there. Nice. That's really cool, and to be able to kind of start using it. That's a very tangible thing. Here's a goal and here's a date, and I did it. But then other things, simplifying things at my house. What are steps that I can do to kind of simplify or clean things out, whatever it is, in the place to kind of put that in there, and it keeps me. I always have it up on my computer because first of all, I tend to lose things. So if I close it, I'm always like, how do I find that again? I'm not great at Google Drive, so I just leave it up all the time. And so whenever I flip to there, even if I'm not always plugging things in, I'm seeing it. And it's reminding me, here's some goals, here's some vision you have, or here's some dreams that, don't give up on that. It's okay to have that dream and, see, is it really doable or not? And it just makes you think about it. It kind of helps you hone in, like I said, on what you really want to make as important.
And I love it because we could spend our sessions digging all this stuff up, and then it could get lost, and then we could dig it all up in another session, and we could spend a lot of our coaching time doing that. But I love capturing it when, a client gets to what's deep in their heart, or when they get to a vision for a certain area of their life. And to just fill you in a little bit more on how this works, there's areas here for spiritual life, physical health and fitness, money and finance, your life mission, physical environment, all these are different areas where you can use this process to see change and see growth. And the other cool thing about this is it gives you a big picture view of all the different areas of your life that are being worked on or that you're growing in, and so you can be sensitive too to wow, I'm putting extra effort into this area of my life right now. Might not be a good idea to try to do a million other things, in these other areas right now too. So I love how it kind of pulls all of that together. And different people have asked me, what would I say my niche is in coaching, and I would say it's helping people get a big picture perspective of what's going on in their life, and then how to move, from where they are to where they want to be. Being aware of all that stuff.
I would think that another positive thing about this tool would be, you mentioned one of the sections is money and finances. And I think that's one thing that I've done is set financial goals for myself and then written them down with a date whenever I've reached that goal. And then
that's really awesome.
It's really awesome. And the cool thing is being able to look back over that too.
Yeah.
And remind yourself these like this is how far I've come and these are the things that I've accomplished. And it reminds me of which is actually a conversation that Andy and I have had a couple times. It reminds me of the Israelites. The Lord told them, build an altar here. Remember, this is where where the water's parted and you walk here on dry ground, and when you come back here with your great-great-grandchildren, so, this is
a spot.
So, so it's like Ebenezer.
Yeah, so I'm going to throw that out there, too.
And it seems like this could be another way to kind of keep track of those, where the Lord has brought you throughout your life and the process.
Maybe we need to rename it, like the Ebenezer tool.
We can call it whatever people want to call it. I love to see clients personalize it in a way that is significant to them. But I think what we're kind of tapping into now is that, this isn't like just a 1 month sort of deal or a 2 month sort of deal or whatever. Like, my goal is for anybody that gets involved in coaching, whether they stay in it long term or whether they use it for a season, that they walk away from that season saying, okay, I want to continue this cycle of growth in all these different areas of my life long term, and I want to establish the patterns and the habits that I need to have in my life in order to maintain this momentum. Because there are other options, are to plateau, to kind of sink into mediocrity and that kind of thing, or even regress. Like if we don't keep moving forward in our health and fitness, and then we plateau, and then we start to think, oh man, this health and fitness thing,
what's the point?
Then we end up regressing, in certain areas of our life. And so what I really love about what Shelley's saying, and what Dan and me have been talking about, is that this is a whole lot bigger than like a phone call. Every week or every other week, however the coaching's set up. This is about creating a pattern and a cycle that's going to move you through life in a way that when you get to the end of life, you're going to be able to look back and say, wow, that was sweet, that was filling, that was satisfying. I put it all out there, I left it all in the court, and I did with my life what I felt called to do, and I reached the potential that I could reach, and I don't have regrets, about how I've spent my time, because I've thought hard. I've thought hard about my time, and I've thought hard about what I value, and I've put it into action. I haven't neglected that, and that's really what I hope for anybody that gets involved with the coaching for a short time or for a long time, that it creates that kind of a movement in a person's life, and ultimately, that kind of movement then in their family's lives or their workspace or church life, wherever they may go, that it has that kind of an impact on the world, really. So I love working with individuals, and I love when, what's going on in those individuals impacts their friendships and their families and that kind of thing as well. So that gets me pretty excited.
So I'm going to throw out, I don't know where we're at in the whole process of like wiring things up or anything like that, so I have no idea. So I'm going to throw out a verse, and this is a verse that I found, I think, through all of this, like just digging into the Word and, trying to figure out what does God say about me, how does He see me instead of how I see myself. And so I feel like I want to make this like my life verse, at least for right now in this season of my life. Because I've really struggled with, feeling forgiven or, not going back to past mistakes, past regrets, instead of embracing the forgiveness and grace that God does give. And so, anyways, I'll read the verse, 2 Corinthians 5, 17 through 19. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is Can't even read my writing. This is because I wrote this. I wrote this while I was walking on the treadmill. That's right. All right. Okay, so therefore, if anyone is in Christ, a new creation has come. The old is gone, the new is here. All this is from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ and gave us the ministry of reconciliation, that God was reconciling the world to himself in Christ, not counting people's sins against them, and he has committed to us the message of reconciliation. Mm-hmm. And to me, that is it just blows me away. You know, when God created, mankind, we were reconciled with him. We were even with him. Like, we had that relationship and that perfect, communion with him, and sin came in and messed it up. And, when I think about reconciliation, I think about my bank statements. You want them all to match and be even, and you strive for that. And I think, so when I hear the word reconciliation, I think about, being back on that place where I'm even with God. He accepts me, and we're back together again. We're reconciled one to another, and that's what Christ did when he died on the cross. And for me to keep hanging on to these past sins, things that I've been forgiven, I'm not accepting that gift of grace and forgiveness. And so it was just like, wow, I need to do that. And, figuring out what does it mean when he says he gives us a ministry of reconciliation. So I'm still trying to figure that one out. I'm not quite sure what that means, but I feel like God is going to use this first somewhere in my life, and I need to just, and I love that he's not counting my sins against me. And I need to just, embrace that for all it's worth. So, and I need reminders frequently of that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we all do. So for me, that's kind of been my life coaching theme verse, or I'm going to make it that because, that's a whole new creation, and that's what I'm working for. Point A to point B. Old to new. So.
Amen. Yeah. And I think, everybody has different perspectives on, where power and where energy and where strength comes from. And I'm certified as a Christian life coach, so my worldview, my perspective is a Christian worldview and a Christian's perspective. I do work with people who have all kinds of different perspectives on life and help them grow in the way that they think is the best for them to grow. And if they want to incorporate spirituality and faith into things, that is an option. And if that's not where they're at the point or at the time too, that's something that we can work with there. I like to meet people where they're at and move forward there. But personally, again, just from my perspective and how I see the world, kind of jumping in with what Dianne's sharing here, one of my favorite verses that I feel like is a backbone for Lionhearted Coaching is Ephesians 3:20, where it says, now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we can ask or imagine, according to his power at work within us. All glory to him. And it's talking about how God is able, through his mighty power at work within us, to do more than we could ever ask or imagine. And so I love to ask, and I love to imagine, and I love to help other people ask and imagine. That's part of what this dream board is all about. It's imagining what can be, and sometimes as we get older, our imagination tends not to be as active, and so I love to get that stirred up and active again, and then help people experience more than what they thought was possible, And from my perspective, that where that really happens is through the power of God at work within us. And the verse actually says it's immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine. So
how cool is that?
It sounds like we can get busy imagining, and we can get busy asking, and he'll always be 10 steps ahead of us. And so for that, I'm very grateful that power is there for those who want to seek it out. And I feel like Dianne's been doing that and finding that in her life, and that's exciting. And thanks so much for for sharing with us and being vulnerable. Appreciate it a whole lot, and I feel like that's what you shared has been really valuable for anybody who cares to listen.
That's not fair.
Yeah, thanks for putting your artwork up on the critique wall. And may it bless whoever it reaches.
Yeah, and just a couple of things, I guess, for anybody who's listening to the recording. If you want to get in touch with me, you can email me at ayoder@lionheartedcoaching.com, or you can go to www.lionheartedcoaching.com. That's my website. Or you can give me a call at 614-918-8116. And speaking of vulnerability, I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about life coaching and how it can be kind of intimidating to, pick up a phone and call somebody that you may have never met before and be like, hey, this is what's going on in my life, and, this is where I'm at, and this is where I'm trying to go, and kind of have that vulnerability and that openness. And so what I love to do is I love to say, hey, don't be intimidated by that process. Give me a call. Anybody who wants to work with me, your first call is free. We can just chat and see if what you're bringing to the table would fit well with what life coaching has to offer, and see if it's something that you'd be comfortable getting involved with, and see if you're comfortable with me and how I work and that kind of thing. And so if you're a little bit hesitant or a little bit nervous about making that call, I'd encourage you to go ahead and do so and check it out, and then you can always decide that, hey, it's not right for you, or, yeah, this sounds good, and this is something I feel comfortable with and that I want to move forward with. So that would be my encouragement to you.
I'd also say along the same lines, if anybody out there has any questions that they're interested in maybe exploring answers to with regards to life coaching, feel free to leave, send an email or ask a question on Facebook. Here on Facebook too, right?
Yeah, Lionhearted Coaching on Facebook as well, and same on Instagram.
And we can maybe explore some of those questions in later interviews.
Yeah. Dan, any closing thoughts?
You make it easy. Easy is, you deal with hard stuff sometimes, and I've cried many times on the phone.
It does happen.
But it has been healing and well worth it, and I have no regrets.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing, and we will catch y'all later. God bless.